we had lost our service manager at the time. So
Okay.
we were rocking without a service manager, just a lead man for maybe 10 months.
Oh, y'all were grinding.
We was in a situation.
You hadn't forgot that yet, have you?
we have we have the odd was stacked against me because I never been a field man.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have the street cred. I don't have the street credit. We was in a situation right now. It was trying times. It was trying times doing that because we had a lot of good talent walk off and leave.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. So today I got a special guest, Mr. Eric Armour from over in the Columbus, Georgia area. I'm going to let him tell you where he actually lives and what he does, but he's been a friend of mine since I got to know him. I've been mentoring him a bit, went over and saw him, visited him and his team on site. So welcome to the podcast, Eric.
How you doing, Mr. Mike?
Man, I ain't good as you, but I'm working on it. You know what I mean?
Well, pretty good, hard to beat.
Okay. So tell the audience about you. I've known you for a while, but most of my audience probably don't know who you are. So tell us who you are, what you do, where you at, all that sort of stuff.
Originally, I'm from Phoenix City, Alabama. That is Phenix, similar to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Maybe about an hour originally. I mean, maybe about an hour away from where you're originally from.
Tallahassee. Oh yeah, over in Tallahassee, big town of Tallahassee.
So, originally from Phoenix City, born in Columbus, Georgia, and I raised up here in Phoenix City. Went to school here, and right after high school, I had to step back and punt and pick a field to go into, and I decided to go into heavy equipment. So I went to Nashville Auto Diesel College in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And took up the trade of automotive and diesel technology. And I got my first full-time job right after that with Yancey Brothers.
And that's where you're at now?
That's where I'm currently at now. I'm a returning employee for them. But I started my career there at Yancey Brothers in 2005, right after I graduated trade school.
Okay.
And I stayed there for a couple of years. And stayed there for a couple of years. And then the economic downturn came, 2008 timeframe, 2007. And I went overseas as a government employee. And I stayed there for I stayed a government employee for 5.5 years. And during the 5.5 years, I spent the majority of my time overseas in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Okay.
I spent 2 years in Iraq, and then 3 years in Kuwait. And 2 years in Iraq was a scary time, but one of the most funnest time of my life. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So that's how my life got started. After that, I went on and did some defense contract in Saudi Arabia, along with Romania, split with Sweden.
Okay.
So I did those things as a defense contractor with Raytheon. It's a big outfit, and I came back home. But I want to go back a little bit. I was raised in Phoenix City. Went to Central High School. I never played any sports or anything like that, but I always went to work. I worked at Fletcher Big Town. It's a neighborhood grocery store in my neighborhood. And I worked there from 16 until I went off to trade school. So I've been working since I was 16 years old. And
how old are you now?
I'm 39 years old now.
Okay. You're still a young man. Looking young, looking sharp. Let me just say to the folks, if you ain't watching this video on the Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel and you're listening on my normal audio podcast, Eric's sharp, man. He's sharp as a tack.
I appreciate that. The kind words. but yeah, that's how I got my start at Fletcher's Big Town, and went from there and went on to the heavy equipment field.
Okay. That's pretty neat. You know, I don't know if I've ever even shared on my podcast or with it really much with anybody. But I worked at Winn-Dixie for like 2 weeks when I was in high school. I didn't like that. I didn't want to work with my dad in the junkyard that he had, so I was like, I'm gonna go work at Winn-Dixie, and I didn't like that either. So I went back and worked in his junkyard.
Yeah.
So
So and then a little bit more in 2017 when I came home, returning from Saudi Arabia. I am married. I have 3 kids, and I returned from Saudi Arabia. In the first couple of years of my marriage, I was away. My wife and I was apart from one another. I
okay,
was in Saudi. She was here. And I returned from Saudi Arabia. I had plans on going back to Yancey Brother at the time in 2017, but I didn't do that. A childhood friend that I went to school with pitched the idea of going into the social service business. I had no idea about the social service business, had no intentions or anything. I was going to come back home and turn wrenches for Yancey Brother. And that didn't happen right off. So I got with my childhood friend, and he said, we need to do something for the youth here in the community. And we started blue collar. Blue collar. We started. we started.
I didn't steal it from you, did I? You've been doing blue collar leadership so much lately. That's just on your mind.
That's just on my mind. But we started Blue Stream Residential Home, and it's basically maximum watchful oversight for 18 to 21-year-old males. Some people call it group homes or group settings and things of that nature, but it's a group setting, and it's a very, very difficult job. And we pride ourselves on something that Truett Cathy said a long time ago, and he probably wrote a book about this. It's better to raise boys than men.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do with the Blue Stream Residential Home Incorporated.
That's good
it's
stuff.
Better to raise boys than men.
So, absolutely.
And then after that, we stood the program up, myself and my business partner. We got a big fancy title. This before I got linked up with Blue Collar Leadership. You probably see my title. I downplay it now. Put it down on the ground and just say the product support service now. So, but we got a big fancy title with Blue Stream, and we stood the program up, and it's been rocking and rolling. It's rolling steady. Myself and my business partner have full-time jobs. So I returned to Yancey Brothers, and I went to work at Yancey Brothers on the floor as a shop tech again.
Yeah.
Took a major pay cut.
And what y'all working on back there? When you say as a tech, what all kind of stuff y'all work on?
We work on bulldozers, pans, straight, articulating dump trucks, haul trucks, bulldozers, front end loaders.
Is it just Caterpillar, or is it a bunch of different brands?
No, it's just Cat. Yancey Brothers is a Caterpillar dealer, and we hold a title as the oldest cat dealer in the country, probably in the world.
Yancey Brothers.
Yancey Brothers, 1914.
Wow. So you work on that heavy equipment, all that Caterpillar, the big stuff.
The big stuff.
Okay. So you went out there as a tech when you came back.
I went out there as a tech when I came back because I was at a place at Sons Automotive.
Okay. What year was that? You remember?
That was 2021.
Oh, 2021 is when you came back this last time.
This 2021 when I came back to Yancey Brothers this time.
As a tech. Okay. So you sound like you're getting up to where also the timeline where you discovered me or we met or something was somewhere after that. Okay, go ahead. Right.
So 2021, I went back to Yancey Brothers and I left an outfit by the name of Sons Automotive. It wasn't a good fit for me. So I went back to Yancey Brothers. I stayed there 5 months, but it wasn't a good fit
At the other place. Yep.
at the other place. And I went back to Yancey Brothers and started as a tech on the floor. And 2.5 months in, I moved to the dispatcher role,
At
and
Yancey
in
Brothers.
the at Yancey Brothers.
Yep.
And when I moved into the dispatcher role at Yancey Brothers, that's when I discovered your information.
Okay.
Because
I
I
remember
was,
you calling me, man. I think I was on the treadmill that day.
yeah,
You
I
said
moved.
something about, I got to talk to you, see if you the real deal or not. Is that what you remember that? You told me that.
I do.
Talk about that
I
a little
did.
bit, or you want to finish your work story and then we'll talk about that
I,
whenever it fits for you.
okay, okay, and I did that. In 2021, I moved to the dispatch role where I discovered your information because I was leaving without authority. I was leaving without authority. So I was looking for blue collar leadership, and you popped up.
Oh, you had a lot of people to influence, but you didn't have any formal authority, but you had to influence pretty much everybody.
Yes, so I got to figure out how to do this,
Okay.
and and that's how I found your information. And lo and behold, I started listening to your information. It resonated with me. It resonated with my group. It resonated with my field. It resonated with my life as a whole. So I
The
said,
podcast, when you say you started listening, it was the podcast at that time, right?
I'll listen to the podcast.
Blue Collar
And I
Leadership
listened to it.
Podcast.
And yeah, and I listened to every episode. I ain't missed one episode.
You
Never.
have like 370 something episodes. You
Yeah.
listened to all of
I listened to every one of them.
them.
Every
That's
one of
pretty
them.
cool. What do you think about these sales, the ones I'm doing at the moment on the sales book? Do you still like them the same or they're not quite the same?
I do. I like them because they are relevant to my job in terms of top line sales. And
Okay.
you have to be authentic in that regard. So they are relevant to my job as a service manager.
Okay. All right. So
So
you discovered the stuff and my stuff, started listening, and you were
I started
struggling with
listening.
the folks. How'd that turn out?
I was struggling with the people, things of that nature. I said, man, let me call this Mack Story guy, see if he's the real deal. And so
That's exactly what you told me too.
let me call it. So when you gave your phone number out, typically when a person get a phone number out, you can call it and you probably don't get an answer. So I said, okay, he gives his phone number out. Let's see if he's the real deal. Because if he's the real deal, he probably gonna answer the phone. I call you and you answer. I said, "Oh man, this joker is a real deal." Just with answering the phone alone, because you don't have to. You don't have to. You sell books, you do whatever. You got stuff, you got this, you got that, but you answer the phone and straight talk with me, you know. And I talked through my issues with you, and here we are.
How long ago was that? You remember? Was that 21?
It was in 21. It had to be. It had to be the tail end of 21 or six. I must say 6 months into the job. So it may have been early 2020. I mean, 2022. Sorry.
Okay, so it's around 2 years, 2.5 years that we've been knowing each other. We talked quite a bit,
Absolutely.
and Rhea put my number up a minute ago. So some people say, "Why you put your number up, man?" That's because I want somebody to call me. And
Yeah.
I share it with thousands and thousands of people all over the country, but thousands and thousands of people don't call me. If they did, I probably wouldn't put my number out. But really serious people like you call me. People who are interested in growth and development, who want some help, and that's who I want to talk to. People don't call me just nonstop. I get calls almost every day, sometimes several a day, and I talk sometimes for 6 to 8 hours if I got a time, in a day to different people. So you and I probably talked some of them several hour long phone calls, I imagine. You remember?
I do. I do remember. And talking through the situation with you have helped me a lot in terms of authentic influence, separating the two, understanding what it is, and just trying to implement it in my current role, in my role that I was in prior as well. But the role that I was in prior, really
The
called for
dispatcher?
me. The dispatcher called for me to really have authentic influence and trust, because I cannot verify a repair from the office. I have to trust that the individual performed the task to the standard. And it's a lot of trust in that job. So and then with that being said, I had to try to get on the same page with the technicians.
Yeah, you had to
And
trust them. They had to trust you, right?
I had to trust you. I mean, I had to trust me, and I had to trust them. And the thing about it all is, going into the dispatcher role, the odd was stacked against me because I never been a field man.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have the street cred. I don't have the street credit. So I never been a field man. I've been a shop tech. So a field man is a rock star, to say the
And
least.
describe that to our listeners if they don't. I know what you're talking about because me and you've talked about it, but
Yeah.
tell people what you mean. What's the difference between the shop tech and the field man?
So a shop tech, you have some. You're not customer facing so much. You're not
You
so
back
much
in the back
customer.
in the building dealing
You're
with
in the
your own
building.
folks.
But yeah, with a field tech, you're customer facing. So you not only have to know how to work on machines, you have to know how to do it under pressure, on site, oftentimes with the owner breathing down your throat. So
That's
you're a
tough.
rock. Yeah, you're a rock star. You're an absolute rock
If
star.
you can do
So
it, yeah, man.
so it's I never done that in that capacity. I have worked with the customer in foreign military sales in a relevant situation, but um I haven't been a field tech, so I already was hesitant. I had some street cred because some of the guys that was there that holds a lot of weight was still there to support me.
Okay.
But the ultimate thing I did was respected them, and I didn't try to tell them what to do and how to do.
Yeah.
I respected them, and they gained respect for me, and then we start to rock on.
Yeah. So you didn't have to deal with the the what do you call it? What's their titles again?
Field service technician.
The field service techs. You didn't have to really deal with them when you were in dispatch.
I did.
Oh,
I
you
did
did.
have.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. That's who I was. That's who I was in charge of uh, the field techs without formal authority position.
I got you. And also the shop techs at the same time, both of them.
I, no, sir.
Well, that's two
Shop
different
techs.
managers over that, or
They're two different. They're two different ones.
two different.
But
Okay.
it's 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 set up now. It's set up now as a service manager, field service dispatch, and you're supposed to have a lead man in the shop, which is what some people call a shop foreman
Okay.
or shop supervisor or a field supervisor or field service dispatcher or things of that nature. But this is how it's supposed to be set up. But we had lost our service manager at the time. So
Okay.
we were rocking without a service manager, just a lead man for maybe 10 months.
Oh, y'all were grinding.
We was in a situation.
You hadn't forgot that yet, have you?
we have we was in a situation right now. It was trying times. It was trying times doing that because we had a lot of good talent walk off and leave.
Because of
So
the
we had a
pressure, the
lot.
stress.
I don't know if it was because of the pressure or the stress. I don't know if it because of different opportunities, but it seemed like a lot of the good talent. We lost a lot of good talent all at one time.
Oh, yeah, that's painful right there. I remember we talked about that a bit during the mentoring
Yes,
talks we had back those days.
yeah, and they were leaving for better opportunity. Every one of them that left got better opportunity. The good talent that we left,
Yep.
lost.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of talent. Um, we was without a service manager for 8 months or so, or 9 months, and then we finally got one, and you're talking to him right now.
Hey, so you figured out how to influence in this dispatch role. It sounds like
I guess.
because you was able to do that job, right? You ended up. I mean, you did a
I
good
did.
job. That's why you got the opportunity to be promoted again, right? So
I did, and I say this. I say this not throwing shade at my leader, at my leader all the way at the top. We started this thing where we give out awards and things, ceremonies, and recognition for promotions and level ups because we worked through a book, level 1 through 6, things of
yeah,
that nature. Babies, if you had a baby that year, we recognize all that.
okay.
Well, the CEO said we got Eric Armour, and obviously he's done a good job because he was promoted from field service dispatch to field service supervisor, and then from field service supervisor to service manager. He was promoted twice. So obviously he's been doing a good job. Where's Eric Armour? And I was sitting right in front of him. He, I
He
was
didn't
sitting right.
realize it.
He didn't, and he didn't realize it. And then he said, everybody started laughing because he didn't recognize who I was. But sorry. And he said, I feel bad. I feel bad, and he admitted that he felt bad, but he showed authentic leadership. He
You knew
showed
what he
he
thought
showed
of you, even though especially when he didn't know you were there. You knew what he thought of you in that moment. So it ended up kind of being an interesting way to hear it, wasn't it?
That's what absolutely. So it's been a road for me, and I'm still learning. Don't think I have it figured out. I don't have it figured out because we're not hitting on all 8 cylinders right now. If we were hitting on all 8 cylinders, we'd have a rock star facility, and we don't. But we will have a rock star facility in Columbus. Absolutely.
It's not easy. This stuff's not easy. People are changing. Situations at home are changing. Customers are changing. Problems are
Yeah.
changing. Everything's nonstop changing. So it ain't like you just get there and everything's smooth and you figure it out and everything lasts forever. But the way it is, it's constant changing, right? Everything's changing.
Yes. And leading technician, I guess it's similar to leading any other blue collar field, but technicians are very opinionated, and it's it's a job that's highly rewarded because of your skill set.
Yeah.
Um, you take a machine, you take some of our biggest customers that pave roads, the same road that people take the kid to school on. You take people that develop community to provide housing for people. All of these are our core customers.
Yeah.
You take the people who make rock and granite and aggregates and things of that nature, and people get this granite in their houses and things of that nature. These are our core. This is our core group of people. Crush and run, gravel, sand, dirt, all of the things that is essential that you kind of take for granted. The landfill, the landfill is absolutely a critical thing in
Yeah.
terms of a developing world. So these are our customer group. So we have a very, very important job in terms of that technician do.
Absolutely. And it's awesome you recognize them like that and see the big picture because a lot of people don't. A lot of times, even the
Yeah.
leaders don't see that big picture, how important all the blue collar folks are. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. As you know, with the blue collar leadership brand, it's for all of us. But you got some more with your kind of your professional story because I wanted to ask you some more about your personal growth too. But I want you to want to make sure you finish with your kind of your timeline on your career.
Yeah, I think, and this where it brings me to the end of in terms of my career up until this point right now, to the present moment, right now as the service manager, um, and trying to implement change and transform the facility. That's what we ultimate trying to do. And our goal as a team is to have the best place to work at Yancey Brothers in the state of Georgia at the Columbus branch. If my fellow partners who listen to Blue Collar Leadership hear that, well, it just good competition.
Okay.
so, so we're running 16 branches. We're running 16 branches on the EM side. So I think we're trying to be the best branch in the state of Georgia.
Outstanding. And that's who's the ones who do it the best. Character and competency, they're the ones that's going to be the best, right? Whoever can do those two the best, they're going to be the best. That's just the way it works.
That's correct.
So I see a lot of books behind you. Do you just buy them, set them back there for this episode
Yeah.
so you look sharp?
Yeah, I did. No, I've been I've been a big reader. I've been due to my background, Mac. I was raised in adversity. There's nothing to fret about. Everybody have a story, but I
Yep.
have one as well. And my story is my story. And then what I had to do about it is take the resources that it was provided to me and make the best out of it. And that's what I did. I made the best out of the hand that was dealt to me.
Yep.
And no need to whine, cry, and moan. It just come on, let's go.
Just shine. No whining, just shining. That's Eric Armour right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, just come on, let's go. And I did that through books because I got trade school education and I was going to junior college actually. I was going to junior college when I worked at Yancey Brothers the first time, but I dropped out to go overseas, and I never went back to get any more formal education. All my education have been through training, seminars, books, things of that nature.
Yep.
And this is what got me started reading more so personal finance books. That's what I started with, personal finance books and things of that nature. But I actually read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when I was a younger person.
Really?
But I used it as an individual contributor, but using it as a leader is totally different.
Yeah.
I didn't make the relation until I started linking up with you and started to make the relation between the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because it affected my life personally and professionally as an individual contributor, but as a leader, I had to use the tools a little bit different now.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So when do you think, if you can remember, when was the first, if you remember the year, or when did you first read any kind of personal growth, leadership development book? Not really counting the finance type stuff, but really the one talking about character development. When was, you remember when that was?
Yes, I can
Was
think.
it the 7 Habits book?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know if that was the first personal development book I read.
That's the first one you remember though?
That's one of them I remember, but I had to start. I think I was reading personal development probably when I was 27 years old, maybe.
So about 12 years you've been reading.
27, 28 years old.
So that's a 12-year stack back there behind you.
It is.
And there's probably some electronic books and videos and podcasts that you can't see, right?
Yeah, and I got all of the stuff that I'm on with you guys right here with blue collar right here handy. I got all that handy right now because that's what I'm dealing with currently.
You reference that a lot.
I reference that a lot, and I'm gonna tell you, Matt, the Ladder Influence it's a good book.
There it is, right there. That's Ria's newest book. That is some good stuff, ain't it?
Yeah, that the Ladder of Influence. It's a good book. But I haven't read all Ria's book, but I've read that book.
Tell me about that book. Why you say that about that book? What is it about that book that really gets you fired up?
Because see, you have to dig deep inside in terms of when you go through the Ladder of Influence. The reason I like the book so much is because it's all about it. It starts all with the person. It starts with you. It starts with you. And then you cannot influence anybody else if you can't stick to a regimen yourself and
Yeah.
have character to do the right thing, to have discipline, willpower, things of that nature. And the ladder of influence is all based on that. Yeah, you can influence some people to do a whole slew of things, but it starts with you. You have to implement these things first.
Yep. Yeah.
Because if you believe it or not, your kids will call you out on it. Your wife will call you out.
You start talking about this stuff at home, you get called out, won't you?
You get called out on it then. So the ladder of influence, it was very influential in, to me, and I think the ladder of influence. I know people are going through this book now at Kilgore, ain't it?
Yep. Yeah. We were on the call with Jason actually yesterday. We're recording this on a
I,
Sunday. We were on the call with him yesterday on Saturday. He's on about chapter 10, 11, and 12. I think he covered yesterday.
yeah, they are going through this book as well, and he's just a model and an example of where I want to be. Jason is doing the things that I have a desire to do. If I have to say, where do I want to be in the next 5 years? I'd like to be where Jason Denham is at. Jason Denham is doing great and wonderful things.
That's awesome. I appreciate you shouting out to him. And I just did an interview with him yesterday morning. After that session with his team, he got on and we did an interview. It'll actually be out coming out Friday. It'll be the first video we release in our video interview series on the Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. So that'll be let's see, what day is that? The 8th. Yeah, March the 8th, I think is Friday. So that'll be out, and you can watch him and hear, watch it. You'll get I think it was an hour and 10 minutes with him talking about, where he's at now and what he's doing now. Really, really cool. I mean, I've been mentoring him. I've been mentoring you for a couple of years, been mentoring him for about 11 years. And I'm telling you, you got the same. All you got to do is not stop, Eric. All you got to do is just keep doing it. You already doing it. Just don't stop.
Yeah, but it don't seem like it. But I tell you, I won't stop, Mac. I won't do that. If I'm going through hell, I won't stop. I continue
You're going to
to
keep
push
going.
through.
Why you going to stop?
so so yeah,
I want
that's
you.
what you see.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You see all these books back here, and on a side note, so I have 3 podcasts that I reference oftentimes.
Yep.
Blue collar leadership, leading,
I appreciate it, man.
and you're welcome. Truly human leadership. That's from
Yep.
you.
Yeah, I shared about that. Yeah, truly human leadership with I can't even think
With
Barry Waymiller and Bob Chapman.
Barry
Yeah, Bob
Webber,
Chapman is the
Bob Chapman.
CEO.
And I reference oftentimes too. It's called Econ Talk. Econ Talk is with Russ Roberts,
Okay.
and Russ Roberts is all about ego. He's all about the ego and not knowing the answer. It's okay not to know the answer. It's okay, and so I like Econ Talk a lot,
Okay.
and that's not related to leadership, but it's related to life.
Yeah. It's related to
So
character development though, right? Talking about the ego.
absolutely,
Yeah, I mean it's
absolutely.
part of that foundational, like the first step on the ladder on when you're talking about the ladder of influence. The stuff he's talking about is really that type stuff that would fit on the first step, right? You're talking about ego, right?
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, pride,
Absolutely.
too much of the pride and ego stuff, the wrong kind of pride.
Wrong kind of pride and ego.
Yeah.
And I think pride and ego will allow say an individual have a good program going, and they can't get results anymore. Their way is not working. Maybe it's time for them to retire. Maybe they didn't. I don't know, but maybe it's time for the next chapter. Pride and ego allow you to stay there and run the place in the ground versus allowing somebody else to come up, be mentored, and take the legacy and move it forward. Ego and pride allow you to use all the resources up and run it in the ground.
Yeah.
And it's really no good, really.
Yep. And when you're talking about the ladder of influence, and now you're talking about the ego piece, and it's kind of what you said a minute ago about the ladder of influence, working on yourself. And I know you've heard me say this, and that's what I'm talking about. That whole book Ria wrote, plus what you're just now talking about, when I say it ain't about me, but it starts with me.
Yes.
That's exactly what you describing, is that little quote that I always say, because it ain't about me, it ain't about you, but it starts with me and it starts with you, talking about leading others, right? We got to get ourselves right first, but while we're getting ourselves right, we got to know it ain't about us. We're getting ourselves right so we can help somebody else succeed.
Yes, I agree with that. And you got to be wholesome, and you have to be the real deal, so to speak. You have to live what you're speaking.
Yeah, man.
You have to live. You have to live what you're speaking. So
You
I
got to
think,
model it. You can't
yeah,
model what you don't live, can you?
You have to model it. And I tell you, and I bring him up all the time. I bring him up all the time because he's known, but you got a lot of people that have mentored me and helped me along the way. But this guy here showed extreme ownership in terms of being wholesome. And it's the mayor of our city right now, Eddie Lowe, Mayor
Really?
Eddie Lowe. He is the real deal.
And is the city of mayor of which city?
Phoenix City, Alabama.
Okay, he's the
He
real
is the
deal.
real deal. He's the real deal. Now he have a full-time job as a finance man. He work at a bank, but he is the mayor of Phoenix City, and he's wholesome. He's been married. I'm 39, 40 years now.
Wow.
I went to school with his kids to see the kids, how they turn out, things of that nature. Just the whole life of this guy, and
You know him.
I know him. And you think about where it came from. You think about his dad. You think about his dad started and learned the brick mason trade at 35 years old.
Wow.
And started at 35 years old, and got all of his kids up and gone and doing great and wonderful things. Only in America you could do this.
Yeah.
Only in America you could do this. So
You got to make it happen, just like we always talk about. You got to do the work, but you can do it. You can make it happen, whatever that might be for anybody. You just got to do the work.
You got to do it. And I could go on and on, Mac, about story after story about regular people who have, in 10 years in this country, have turned their whole life around. From year 0 to year 10, totally different ball game.
Yep, by choice, right? They had
By
to do
choice.
the work.
They had to do the work. And it all, now I don't know if they're in read these blue collar leadership books. I don't know if they're in read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but it's all
They live in those habits, those principles. I should say, yeah. That's what anybody who's out there being highly effective, especially with a high degree of character, they live in these principles. They've learned them somewhere. They may not have read them. They may not have watched a video. They may not have heard them. They might have saw somebody model it, or they may just be that kind of person who naturally aligns with those kind of principles. But the principles in these kind of books we're talking about, in my books and Ria's books and a lot of the other ones you've mentioned, all we doing is pulling out those principles from the highly effective people, teaching those principles, and we share our stories about it. Now, I want you to help me right here, Eric, because a lot of people I'm interviewing, I need you to help me overcome this stereotype. I hear this all over the country, everywhere I go, and I'm sitting there looking at you. You looking at me. It's actually Ria's office, but my office got a bunch of books like that. I'm in her office, so we keep it kind of uniform with our YouTube channel, because we make our YouTube videos standing in here in this room. It's kind of like our studio too, if you want to call it that. But I hear so many people say, blue collar people, they don't want to read books. I read books. I'm looking at you. You read books. You didn't just start reading them when you got in the office. You've been reading them before you got in the office. You share books with your team out there, right? The blue collar, the field folks, the shop folks.
Yeah,
all them people tell you I ain't reading a book. Every one of them say I ain't reading a book. Blue collar people don't read books. Is that what you see when you actually lead yourself and lead them well?
I don't see it. I don't see it now. Can I get buy-in from everybody? Probably not. But I bought my whole team. The first time when I took the service manager role, I bought the whole team, blue collar leadership, leading from the front line. Everybody on the team. That
The
book.
book, yeah, that
Every
book I wrote for the audience. If they don't know about it, I wrote it for the entry level, frontline, blue collar worker. But the principles apply to everybody. So go ahead with your story.
I gave that book to every employee we had at the time. And
Wow.
I give it to everybody I interview.
You
Don't
still
matter
do.
if we're going still right now. Don't matter if we hire them or not.
Look
I
at you.
give them that's my parting gift with them. I said I tell them, you want a second interview with me, and I can get my regionals in. It's a process, but this is highly influential in terms of getting a second interview. I give that book out religiously.
Yeah, because that
Uh,
tells you, I've mentored a lot of people. Jason has done that. You do it. I don't know if you heard me talk about it on the podcast. Maybe you have. That's why you do it. But just
I
to share
have.
that lesson with everybody while you're actually talking about it, you do it. I tell people, these books cost $18. And if you can pass the shake my hand test, you all right as a person. I mentor people to recommend people to give that book to them and say, hey, if you want a second interview, read this book and come talk to me about it. And the reason is, it's one way to identify character, right? If somebody reads that book and they're interested in it and they bring it back and the pages are folded up and marked up, and you can tell because you read it and you talk about it and teach it. So you know if they read it. You also know if they got something out of it. And if they did get something out of it, what's that mean to you? Because it's an $18 filter, right? You filtering out a lot of folks.
Filtering out a lot of people, I use the analogy that you can read a chapter of this while using the bathroom, and 30 times you use the bathroom 30 times, you had this book finished.
Yeah, because it only takes 6-7 minutes to read a chapter. If you fast reader like Rhea, maybe 4 minutes to read a chapter. It
Yeah,
takes me about 7 or 8.
yeah, it take me a long time too. Matt, you and I have some of the same thing. I don't hardly speak good English. Hey, whatever. It is what it is. I just roll
You
with it.
speak better English than I do.
So we 60 miles away from each other originally. So hey, I just get in what I fit in.
So how's that
In
worked
turn,
out for you though? How's that worked out for you? Using that book as a filter to filter out the people who ain't interested. Because if they don't read the book and call you back, you don't call them back chasing them down, I guess.
I don't, and we have hired some people, and I'm not sure if they read the book because it's not it's not a book that I want to force somebody to read. I want you to want to read it.
Because it tells you
So
something, right? It
it
tells
it
you something about them if they want to grow. They're basically self-identifying that I'm a kind of person that wants to grow and develop my character, which is very important to a high impact leader.
absolutely, and the people, it may have been 3 or 4 or 5, 6, whatever, however many that come to me and talk to me about the book. I know now. Okay, these are my growth oriented people right here in the company. So
They helping you transform the culture. You need those
yes,
folks, right? They out there having
absolutely.
conversations you ain't having because you got another mission. They on one mission, you on another mission.
Yeah, and in the morning meeting, in my morning meetings, I'm reading toolbox tip. You probably see me post toolbox tips of the week on
There it is
LinkedIn.
right there.
So the toolbox tip, we go through that every week, and I stay on one tip the whole week.
I do see you share
Cause
them and appreciate it.
oh yeah, we on 37 now, so
37 out of 60 on the first book on volume 1 or volume 2.
volume 1, and then so
Okay.
we'll go into 38 next week. But every week we talk about it, and I like to say you can talk behind the boss back, or you can whine, cry. You can when I leave out of here, talk about what we ain't gonna do, what we are gonna do. Just a waste of time. But let me tell you something, Mike. When I go out into the shop, they'll say if I'm doing something, they'll say, Eric, this is unacceptable. You need to get them a better a positive attitude. You better get a positive attitude.
They'll hold
So
you
they
accountable
listen.
too, won't they? But you like that. When you hear that, you like hearing that.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
That
It
ain't
let
a
me know they
negative from them. That's a positive from them, right? You like they getting it. They looking for it.
they're looking for it.
They expecting you to model it too, which is what we talk about. Leaders got to, if you want your folks to buy in, you ain't got to be perfect. Ain't none of us perfect. We're gonna slip, stumble, flop around, trip all the time. But I heard, I read in the back of Dr. Covey's book, The Eighth Habit of Highly, The Eighth Habit. That was the name of that book. But in the back, he has some questions people answered, Q&A type stuff. And somebody, I think it was a South Korean president, asked him, how do you know you really, really value this stuff you teach? He said, every single time that I fall off the wagon, I get back on it. That's how I know. Because we all gonna flip, fall, and trip.
I do too. I beat myself up about it. So I give you a little bit of background on my disc profile.
Okay, on disc. Yep.
Yes. My disc profile have changed. And I know it's in relation to who you're working for and things of that nature. But my original disc profile, when I was a field service dispatcher, I was over the threshold in D, high I, high C, low in S. So when you say to your audience, if you're in the hospital, don't call me. I'm not gonna say the right thing. I'm right there with you.
I ain't the one. I hate that you're there, and I love you, and I feel bad for you, but I come see you. But I ain't the one gonna make you feel good because I don't know what to say when I get there.
That's right. That's right. So that's me in my disc profile. So over the threshold in D, and I was a high I, high C. And I went through flagship, which is a Caterpillar training for potential the young talent in the company and things of that nature, up and coming, however you want to say it. And I went to the flagship program, and the flagship program say I was a DI or a more of a D dominant, so on and so forth. Well, every time I take a disc profile, I kind of get upset because I don't want to be a D. I prefer to be a high I, high C, what I originally saw. But I know the D, the over threshold in D, because the over threshold in D is what is the leadership style that we are used to in America from all the way back from the 1800s. This is the way it's gonna go. This is how it's gonna be. Yeah. That's how the majority of them lead.
Can you rattle off what those 4 letters mean in case somebody don't know that's listening? If you don't, I can help you out. But it sounds like you probably know.
Yeah. So D is dominance, I is influence, S is steadiness, and C is conscientious.
Yeah.
And dominance, influence, I have, and low in steadiness in terms of sensitivity, things of that nature, and high in C, conscientious. And majority of your blue collar people are going to be high. If they're not, it's going to be, according to study, high S, high C people. So if you're leading high S, high S, high C people, you're going to have to know how to do it because they hold grudges. And if they hold grudges, you're going to have to be able to deal with it.
Yep, I used to hold one for years and years and years, man. When I was young, I'd be mad at somebody for years, and I might not see them for years, but when they saw me, I'd be mad. But I'm better now, and that's what all this development does. Like I was a high D and a pretty high I, and I had a strong C, but not much S. I still don't have as I learned, it depends on how you're looking at S. Because see, like all I want to do is help people. That's really in the S, but I want to help you if you're at the hospital or if at a funeral and somebody just passed. I hate it. I just ain't got those kind of emotions. I mean, I do care, but you don't see me caring really because I lead myself well and I deal with. I expect tragedy. I expect people's going to be in the hospital. I expect people's going to die. I already know that. Everybody I know is going to die, and it ain't nothing I can do about it. So I mean, I'm going to hate it. but I don't dwell in grief and sorrow, and I just don't do that as a person. It just doesn't do me any good. I don't want nothing to do with it. And occasionally there's something serious that'll get me down in there, but I don't like it. I get away from it. I like
Sure.
I don't like sadness and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, this thing ain't about me, but it's cool you're talking about that. But I've seen as I've grown, my D has come down. My eye, it's kind of like it's balancing more in the center. I'm starting to be stronger in all of them. And that's why this type of development can, when you talk about leading the C and the S, this kind of development can help them move to the middle. And you get everybody start being more in the middle where they can lead themselves well in all of these, where I can make something happen if I got to, but I'm doing it in a way that I'm not disrupting relationships. So all this development,
Absolutely.
have you seen that happen, that it's helping you lead because it's helping you be better, but it's also because you're developing the team, it's helping them be better, and everybody's getting better together?
Yes, I have seen it. And I have to be cognizant of my S and my C versus my D technicians as well. I have to be aware of that. And using that, we use the disc profile at our company religiously. We use it, and it's a good personality test, good data, and just trying to blend the blue collar leadership, disc, and all these things into one, and try to get a good facility. And I think I do see an improvement. I think our team is on the upward trajectory in terms of culture and things of that nature. We haven't got there. We have to get more technicians in the shop. We had to get more technicians in the field, and we have to get some. We have to get some people identified where that we have some continuity there, and we have had a lot of disruption over the last 2 years, and I am there to stay in terms of the continuity, and to provide that customer with that continuity so that we can get back off to a good start in terms of our store as a whole, getting it to a place where you want to take your machine, you want to go, you want to come work, because the best advertisement is, and I say this all the time, the best advertisement is the word of mouth, and that is that when you at the ball game, like you say, when you at dinner, things of that nature. If I can get Yancey Brother employee and in the Columbus facility saying this is the place to go work, we will have a rock star facility.
That's all you got to do. You got to build that team that can create that positive word of mouth advertisement. And that's why in the Frontlines book, you know all this. I can tell you're a student of my content. You know it. Sound like you know it good as I know it, maybe even better. But that's why I got to know that, I'm a tech out there. I got to know word of mouth that I'm worried about is what's my teammates saying about me, because that's going to impact my promotions, my raises, my future as an individual. But then as a company level in the culture book, what you're talking about, it's the same principle applied for the organizational culture there at your site, right? So
yes,
the word of mouth then is what's everybody else saying about us as a whole, meaning everybody else, meaning everybody in the company. So that's a different level of word of mouth advertisement. You got to have both.
You got to have both. And the job of a service manager is a tough job. It's a tough job. Now, we have a guy that I admire very much so. That's a service manager. He's been a service manager 10 years now. He run our making store. And I don't mind saying his name because he's a real deal.
It's a positive.
Absolutely.
Don't brag on them positive people.
And his name is Jacob Pope. And Jacob Pope, he was a high C, and he have absolutely done well with that making store. So much so that it is a facility that you want to take your machine to. But it didn't start that way. He grew it.
And it don't stay that way. He's got to sustain it and maintain it.
You got to sustain it. Yeah. So that is the model store for in terms of our Southwest store. Now I know my boss man gonna eat me up about this if he hear this video, but hey, let the truth fall with me.
That's good though, but you coming, right? You coming.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
And then y'all be there together. That's a good thing about this, and I know you know this, Eric. There's room for everybody to have that kind of place. Everybody, it ain't the scarcity mindset that says, well, if they're doing good, I can't do good. Well, they can do good and you can do good, and everybody else can do good. There's room for everybody at the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And good good people have to good people and good things, you just have to constantly work at it. I think they go hand in hand.
And that's where it shows you as an organization are the real deal. I like you label there, but you got to do it. You got to build it. You got to maintain it. You got to sustain it. You got to keep it up. Continuous improvement, like I talk about with Kaizen. And I got to tell you, Eric, and I'm sure you know this, but when you're talking about DISC being the personality profile, and you guys use it, and it is good. It's fabulous to know all that stuff. But the one underlying principle that makes all that work, like you're talking about, is habit 5 of the 7 habits. Seek first to understand, then be understood. That's
Absolutely.
exactly what until you can master that, knowing all that DISC stuff doesn't help anybody. You got to be able to apply that one principle, because now that you know what everybody is, now you got to seek first to understand. And that's what's cool about principles. And I don't discount DISC at all. Everybody, that wants to learn that should learn it. And it's a tool, right? But
yes.
if somebody could only learn one or the other, to me, they need to learn habit 5, seek first to understand and be understood, because it's going to apply to everything, every age, every personality, every ethnic background. It doesn't matter. That's a principle. It applies to everybody. But when you can take an understanding of DISC and stack on top of that principle, just get out of the way, because now you loaded with a lot of good resources.
I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. And the DISC profile, the 7 habits of highly effective people, and along with a positive attitude, I think that's the recipe for success. Yep. In terms of moving forward, propelling a entity forward. And the 2 habits, if you could get mastered, seek first to understand before to be understood, and pause, the pause button.
Yeah.
The pause button is the one I had to work on oftentimes, because if you bring me a problem, I'm working on the pause button, high and D, again, over the threshold in D, and my natural tendency is to react. Whereas I need to pause.
Think about it.
Think about it. So
don't react based on your emotions and your feelings, but pause and respond based on your values.
Based on your value. And I typically, and it typically goes back to, I can't remember exactly what you said about it, because you got so much content in terms of frustration, and it's about 7 or 8 elements of things. It's what leads to transformation. If you don't have one of the inputs of one of the ingredients, you get frustration, you get confusion, you get
from the culture book. Yeah, that's the transformation equation in the culture book.
The transformation equation. I don't remember it verbatim, but most importantly is if you get frustrated, oftentimes I see when you say, okay, you should do like this, either it's 2 things: a person didn't do it like you would have done it, or you don't know how to do it and you frustrated that person didn't know how to do it. So either one of the 2 I see. So you react. Both times you react versus just, all right, let me think about it, touch base with the resources, and make the best decision for the company, make the best decision for the employee, make the best decision for the customer.
Yeah.
And you work through that framework like so. And I think that's.
I love you, man. you,
Hey, Matt, and I love you because, like you say, you helping me authentically. And my kids will benefit from this. I mean, right now, I read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for Kids
yeah,
to my young
for
to my
happy
youngest
kids. That's
for
the
happy
little one.
kids.
That's the big book, right? With the little
Big,
thin book, but it's a big book with pictures for like 6 year olds, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range.
that's it. And I have one that is 3, and one is 5, and I read that with them. And oftentimes they know that I'm gonna read that book. Well, because I don't pick up any other book. So sometimes I come in there and my 5-year-old, and he using some influence. So he'll he'll lay that book on the bed. That means I need to read this book tonight.
Hey, man, I couldn't imagine where I would be. You said you're 39, right?
39 years old.
So I was 39 basically when I discovered this stuff. I mean, I hadn't read any books. I was 39 at the time, and I mean, you've been reading 6, 7 years. You got a head start. But imagine parents who do get a hold of this stuff, and they start doing like you're doing with a 3 and 5 year old child, starting to teach them the 7 habits of happy kids, and then I'm sure you'll move into the 7 habits for teens later as they get older, and for families,
I
and
do.
then you got the marriages, all those different books. And I have kids, young folks, not that little, 3 to 5, but teens or preteens. They like the Frontline book. Joshua
Yeah,
Davis's son eat that book up. He was 12 years old when he started sharing it with him, doing a book study with him at home. And Joshua Davis is a trash truck driver for the city of St. Peters, Missouri. And he's like you. He's listened to all of my podcasts, a bunch of them multiple times. But he introduced that to his 12-year-old son and 14-year-old daughter at the time. And they latched onto that stuff. You start teaching young people this, boy, you can accelerate them. Because like the money in the bank, you talking about finances, right? Imagine
yeah,
you put the money in the bank when you're 3 to 5 years old versus when you're 39 years old, in my case. Right? I mean, you really helping them out, man, and they're going to impact other people just like we all
yeah.
do. They're going to influence other people. So that's another reason I love you, man. You're taking it home, putting it in the house.
Yeah, all that stuff I do, I try to implement. I cannot make an excuse about what I didn't get when I was raised, who didn't do this for me, who didn't do this with me. I just got to try to do it the best way I possibly can. And I'm not saying I do it the best way I possibly can in terms of I get short patience just like anybody else with my kids. I lose my temper just like anybody else with their kids, but I'm trying. I am, and I do try to read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, highly effective kids. Sorry,
Happy kids.
and
Yep.
and I got a teenager. We're gonna go into that book, the teen book, with him. And my plan, this is my plan. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I would like for him to go through that book at least 3 times by the time he get 18. I want to read it with him. This is my plan this year. I want to do it again at 16. I want to do it again right before he leaves to go do whatever he's going to do in his life.
Man, what great leadership at the house. That's a good
That
example.
that's what I'm trying to do with him. He's a good kid. He's a good kid, and then my youngest one, I'm doing the happy kids with them. But like you said, long story short is we have to try to model everything that we're trying to do with these kids. We just have to try to do it, try to model it.
Yep.
So
So let me ask you this, since you write like Rio's Ladder of Influence book so much, because I tell people a lot. I think every, it ain't for me to make happen, but I think every high school student ought to have to read that Ladder of Influence book before they graduate. I mean,
I agree.
how do you see that book for like a high school student? Because I believe that's something they probably ain't gonna get unless they get it at home, like you're talking about. But most people don't get it at home.
Ladder of Influence and Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Line. I think both of those books you need. I think both of those books need to be read prior to high school, leaving high school. I think, and I will also include, it's about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a big, thick, long book, like
Yeah,
you always
that's the
say.
only reason I don't recommend that one so much, because most people ain't gonna read that book because it's so big, thick, makes your head hurt, and all that stuff when you read it. But my
So
books are full of that stuff. I
yeah,
simplify that and put it in my books with my story. But I agree, that book, I recommend it to a lot of people, but hardly anybody will ever read it once they buy it.
yeah, but the
What's your other ones?
leading from the front line, ladder of leader, ladder of influence, and then one by I can't think of this guy's name. His name William. He was a Navy SEAL. It's called Make Your Bed.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard of that or read that one.
Yeah,
I
make
think
it
I saw
called.
the video of that guy talking about it on YouTube, maybe.
Yeah, he was at University of Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's talking about make your bed, start your day off doing something productive, basically. Make your bed when you get
absolutely,
up.
absolutely. Because see, if you do one thing that is good and you feel good about it, it gives you that positive momentum. Okay, I can go ahead and attack the rest of the world.
Yep.
And that Make Your Bed, those 3 books right there. And excuse me, neither one of those books is long. Leading leading from the front line, Ladder of Influence, and Make Your Bed.
That's 3
And
you can get them to buy into. And if you get them to buy into those 3, you probably then get them to read the 7 Habits for Teens book, because
yeah,
if they'll get them started with those short, easy to read books that get you attention, and if you got their attention through those 3 books, if you dump that 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teens on them, and that book is good. I mean, I think it's better really than the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book. I mean, for a teen, because it's got different stories. It's easier to digest it. It don't make your head hurt so much. That the teens book does it. That's what
yeah,
you're talking about. The teens book. It could be a
yes,
4th book add on top of those 3.
absolutely,
And,
absolutely. And that 7 Habits. And my wife, she's on the 7 Habits now. Um, my wife is a reader as well. She's been into leadership things of that nature. My wife was a leader, formal authority leader before I was, so she has some experience with that as well. And so she reads as well.
okay, so have you said you listened to all my podcasts? How many of my books have you read?
I got. Let me see here. Blue Collar Leading from the Front Lines. I read. Um, 10 Values of High Impact Leaders. I done read the Blue Collar and I haven't read the Culture book. Leading the Teamwork book. I done read the Teamwork book.
You probably got the supervision there. I bet you got that one.
Yeah, supervision. I read the supervision
Blue
book.
collar leadership and supervision.
Yeah,
Yep. So
yeah. I
just
read
go ahead.
the supervision book, and out of all of your books, Matt, the one that resonated with me is the supervision book and the culture book.
Yeah,
That
those
I that
one
I
for leading
like
other
the
people
most.
well.
Yes, supervision and culture book, because leading yourself well, as I told you, as an individual contributor, I kind of been on the personal development for some time, but I struggle with leading others well because it's not me, it's somebody else. So I got to try to use influence to do it. So I have to work on
A absolutely, and we've been popping up the bluecollarleadership.com/download banner at the bottom. So anybody listening or watching, you actually can go there and read the first 5 chapters of all of those books that Eric was talking about a minute ago, and a lot of our other books, and some of Ria's books. There's a link there to a button to tap on to read a lot of Ria's excerpts from her books as well for the listeners out there. So Eric, have you or you got something you about to share there?
No. I was just putting the books back.
Okay, so I was going to ask you. You've done so much with your team. You've done some book studies with them, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That what I was trying to do a book study with them. Trying to get some buy-in. I figured I'd prime what I call prime the pump
Yeah, I talk about
for
that in my Kaizen book.
yeah. I figured I'd prime the pump for a while, and then I think we will eventually get to where
Yep.
we're doing book study.
So
We will get there.
So, so you know about our new Blue Collar Leadership Academy. I'm just you've heard me talk about that. I wondered have you personally actually went to the bluecollarleadership.com academy page? Have you actually looked at that 15-minute video with the downloadable worksheet where you can fill in the blanks? Have you done that?
I have.
Did you share
I
that
have.
video with your team by chance? I was just curious if what they might have
I
thought about it.
haven't. I
Okay.
haven't, I can, but I have not shared it with my team.
Okay, it'd be interesting. You know, if I were you, I'd recommend maybe your rock stars, your hungry folks out there. Maybe get them in,
Mm-hmm.
print them off a copy of that handout, bring them in one day, and buy them some lunch or something. And you know, the ones who are hungry, who are raising their hand, saying I'm interested, and just go through that 15-minute video, just see what they think about it. Because you know, we got the academy out there, but people don't have to do the academy. We got our Blue Collar Leadership YouTube page. It's gonna have a lot of free stuff on it. But the reason I recommend people just to share that one video is because they'll see that they might see it and they might go get on the Blue Collar Leadership YouTube page and start learning more on their own, you know, watching videos like this. Like hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully when this video comes out, you'll share it. Your team sees it. They're gonna probably want everybody that works in your organization right there on site with you probably gonna say, man, y'all see Eric's video? So they're gonna all watch it. And hopefully that'll get them to the Blue Collar Leadership channel, and maybe they'll watch some of the other stuff, and some of that'll make sense, or they'll see some of the other leaders' videos. And not everybody's going to be a formal authority leader that I interview. You know, I'm going to get
Yeah.
Josh Davis back on and do one with him, and he's working in solid waste department. You know, driving the trash trucks, what he was doing last time I interviewed him. I think he's moved over into the recycle center now, but I'm going to interview all kind of people. It doesn't matter what their level or title is. What I care is, are they hungry? Are they working on growing and developing themselves? And what do they want to share with the world about personal development? Because I want people to understand blue collar people want to develop themselves. Not everybody, right? But not every white collar person does either. But there's a
No.
lot of blue collar people who are hungry for this content, but they got leaders who maybe are not hungry for it, who ain't giving it to them, or they got leaders who've never even been exposed to it. Like I was when I was 39. After 20 years, I didn't know anything about this type stuff. So hopefully that's what these interviews are going to do, help fuel people.
And I think too. I think so. We have had in Columbus, Phoenix City area. We used to have the Jim Blanchard Leadership Forum.
Yep. I went to that before. It was like a 3-day event.
It's a 3-day event. Jim Blanchard Leadership Forum. And he was such a great leader in terms of Synovus. And this is where I found out about servant leadership through him.
Okay. You went to
I
one of those conferences?
I went to the conference because they originally, well, they not originally from Columbus, but they have deep roots in Columbus. They've been here so long.
Yep.
And he was a lawyer by trade, and then went on to be an executive for the bank. But servant leadership is what I learned about. I learned about servant leadership from Jim Blanchard, watching his videos and him bringing top leaders to Columbus. Well, he have one away now. I don't know. He retired. I don't know what happened with it. I don't know if they turned it over to Columbus State University, because it was a link between Jim Blanchard Leadership Forum and Columbus State University.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a good day. He brought some heavy hitters here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some heavy hitters, and he believed in servant leadership. And when he was at the helm of Synovus did win one the top places to work at in America, some years.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I went. It's been maybe 10 years ago or so, somewhere around that time period. John Maxwell was speaking there. Simon Sinek, General McChrystal was there. Ken Blanchard was there. there was a lot of people. I mean, they had some really good people. Some people I didn't recognize their name, but they were off the charts. Some of the
off the
folks.
chart.
Yeah.
So servant leadership is where it's at in terms of that. Now Dan Cathy and the Chick-fil-A group, you know, people send their kid to Chick-fil-A to try to learn those values at 16 years old, things of that nature, to try to get them ready for the next step in life. And
Yep.
I think that's very, very key in terms of the developing our community as a whole. The Chick-fil-A brand, sending the kid there. They can't get all of the kids, no. They
Yeah.
can't get them all, but they can get many they possibly can to try to instill that servant leadership, things of that nature, into the kid. So
All right, that's good stuff, and they are doing that, and you're doing it in a way. They may not be kids, but they're people. You know, in your shop, any leader who's doing this, and I share with my audience real quick. Whenever we talk about servant leadership, some people don't like that term, but serving is helping. You can see it as
yeah,
simple as that. That's what servant leadership is. Serving is helping, and helping is serving. And everybody knows they'd rather work with a leader that would help them than one who's not going to help them. But what we got
yep.
to challenge people is to become that leader. Become that leader you wish you had. So before we wrap up, and I'm gonna check in a minute to see if you got anything that you haven't shared that you want to. Actually, go ahead and do that. There's anything that you plan to say that maybe you hadn't had a chance to say yet, or you thought about, you want to say, wrap up, personal, professional, anything?
No, I have a book here. I have a book here that I'm reading in regards to competency. It's called Service by the Boxes. It's by John. I think this guy named Dowling, John Dowling. That is John Dowling, Dowling.
Can you hold that up in the front where the cover? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. People can
Service
pause
by.
that right there and grab a hold of that. Yep.
Yeah, this is what I'm reading relative to competency of running a heavy equipment shop in the competency area,
Yeah. The
not
competency
person.
side.
Yeah, and this seems like it's on something going to be a heavy hitter right here. I maybe read 2 or 3 chapters of it, but it is it's pretty good.
Okay. So that's good stuff. And you bring up a good point. We got to develop characters, what's going to launch us or limit us, but we got to have competency and we always got to be developing both. Right. So that's good.
Yes,
I'm glad
yeah,
those of us who understand, we always doing both. For me, they're the same because this is what I do. So for me, character and competency is studying all the same stuff because it's what I teach, it's what I write about, it's what I talk about. But for anybody who's not doing it, what I do for a living, you got to develop your character, same way Eric's been talking about it. But you also got to develop your competency relative to whatever you do as a professional, whatever your career is about, right? You got to have both.
yeah, yeah. And in terms of that, I think it's a good book, and I'm not sure if I have left out anything, and I'm not even sure if this interview was had any kind of coherent pattern to it. But hey, we didn't got it. We didn't have a lot of conversation here.
Oh, well, there's a lot of nuggets, man. You filled the truck up with some gold today, and I mean, I hope people reach out to you, and you don't mind if people reach out if they think you can help them or share some thoughts, right?
Oh, absolutely. If I can help anybody, I will. Um, Anybody in the world I can help, please reach out.
And you got your
Uh,
LinkedIn page. You active on
I got
LinkedIn? That's a good place to follow you.
That's a good place to follow me on LinkedIn, and whatever you have, you can send it by invite or by message, and I get back with you. I run a service department, so it'll be in the evening times, not during the day, because during the day my day is from 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock come fast every day for me. It's high pace, a lot of work, very exciting, and it's highly engaged. So I get back with you. If I don't get back with you soon enough, just give me a little bit of time.
You like me? you always open, but you ain't always available. Right. I've been
Yeah,
open the whole time we've been recording this interview, but I ain't been available to nobody but you.
yeah. So, and I'd like to share this a little bit about myself. In my pastime, I have a 91 Corvette I work on. Uh, it have all of the bells and whistles and long tube headers there, like you said you had, and X pipe exhaust. But it's a 91, it's a C4, not a C5 like you had.
Yeah.
But it's a much older car. And in my spare time, I like to spend time with my wife, my kids, and work on the old Corvette. And I really want to thank my wife for putting up with me. Uh, she is she's the best thing in the world for me, and we got 3 kids, and I want to tell her thank you if she ever watched this, and I love her, and I appreciate you for putting up with me and supporting me. So
That's good stuff right there. Because without our spouse, we ain't we ain't near the same person. I promise you.
absolutely, absolutely, that's all I have.
Okay, so I ain't gonna wrap it up just yet. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions real quick. So, you say you listen to all my podcasts. Is there any certain episode that you remember that you go back to, or you think somebody ought to listen to that off the top of your mind? You may
I don't
not
know
know
the
it.
I don't know the number right off, but I think I think me personally, I'm a biography guy, and I think really and truly, Matt, hearing your story on the first two, three, four, five podcasts
Yep.
is what resonated with me because I can relate to it. I can
Okay.
relate to it, and it brings you in. Oh, this guy here, and you tell your story in return to that. I know all of the leadership tips and nuggets you have along all those other podcasts, but me, I like to know the person, and
I
that
like
tells
that.
me the first five, maybe 5 or 6 podcasts, and then the one that teach you how to facilitate a book study.
I really appreciate that, and it's episode 305 that teaches how to facilitate a book study. But I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you pointing out that those first, I think it's 5, maybe 6, where I really, it's not motivational, really. I mean, it might be if you want to hear it like you did, it's motivational, but it's not meant to be teaching any content or anything. Like you said, it's just me for people who sometimes I meet people and want to know what your story is. I don't always have time to tell them. I said, go listen to the first 5, 6 episodes on my podcast, 1 through 6 or whatever. And I'm just telling my journey, where I come from, my work, all the jobs I had and what I did and that sort of stuff. But it's cool to hear you say that because I almost didn't put it on there because I'm like, don't nobody care about this. But it's
Yep.
cool. Out of all 375 episodes, you cared about it the most.
Yeah, I care about it the most because see now you know where the person is coming from. All and you being dirty and getting oil all over you and going into places, all of this stuff going into places and transforming it. And of course, everybody remember the story in the book, in your first book, Define the Influence. Uh,
You read that one too?
I have, I
Okay.
have. Define the Influence. Everybody remember the story of when you went into the plant and the people spilled the bean prior to, and you did not ask them. You asked them not to. Everybody remember that story, and that guy transformation from hating you or wanting to hurt you to being one of your biggest advocates. That's something, man.
Oh yeah, he wanted to cut my throat, literally.
Yeah,
He said that's
yeah,
what he wanted to do. He's waiting me to
yeah,
show up so he could cut
yeah,
my throat. I forgot I shared that story in Defining Influence. I know I shared probably a shorter version in Blue Collar Kaizen, but I hadn't read Defining Influence. I had to go back and read my own books because I can't remember what I wrote in them.
yeah. And everybody. Well, and it may not been in defining influence. It may have been along the way, but hey,
It probably was in
defining.
that book because Defining Influence is a big, thicker book. It's not the 30 chapter, 3-page book. It's like 300
It is.
pages, a lot deeper. I go into the fundamental stuff. You like that book?
I like it because you struggle with the same thing I struggle with. with raising kids.
Yeah.
You a regular person, you spell all that out with losing your relationship with your son
Yep.
and build, but not more so losing it, but how you built it back up using
Using all this stuff
uh
we're talking about,
yeah,
right?
yeah, using all the stuff that we talk about, and him going on and doing great and wonderful things, because we could do all we want to do in the world, but if our kids is not faring well, it bothers us as parents.
Oh yeah.
So, and that stuff allow people to know that Mac ain't always been who he is right now. He's one of us. So
Yep. I'm one of us. I'm still one of
yeah,
us, right? The
yeah.
blue collar folks. We've been overlooked, underappreciated, overworked, underdeveloped, and that's the mission I'm on. So I'm gonna let you leave us with a nugget if you can pull one out of the hat. Maybe not, but out of all my books and my podcast, is there a certain quote that resonates with you, or a
Yeah.
thought or saying that I have that you just like to leave us with today?
Yeah, it's you change your podcast midway or something like that nature, but you said um you used to say on your podcast about it might as well be you. So um I like this part of you. You said, okay, go make it happen. If it ain't, I mean, he said, go make it happen. If it
Make
might
it
as well
happen, or
be you.
yeah, make it happen, or someone else will. It might as well be you.
So I like that. Go make it happen, or somebody else will. It might as well be you. That I like that when you say that in particular, because you telling a person it ain't about me, but it start with me. But you're saying it in a different way, and it in the premises. I mean, in the premise of the quote is, you have to get yourself together first before you move to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I always tell people, whatever it is you want out of life, it's out there waiting on you to show up and claim it. If you don't, somebody else gonna claim your prize, because it's still gonna be out there whether you go get it or not. Somebody else gonna get it.
Yeah, somebody else gonna get it, and it might as well be you, like you say. Oftentimes, it might it might as well be you.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Eric. I really appreciate you taking time out on a Sunday afternoon to come record this series with me. I think people are going to find a lot of value in it. I hope you get some, if people do reach out to you, I'd appreciate you letting me know that they did. And this could happen for years. I mean, ain't no telling how far into the future. We're just starting this Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. So in the beginning, it may not be that many people. I think we only got like 30 subscribers, and we don't market well at all. We just put stuff out and let grassroots people sharing and talking about it. So as
So
as as followers, people subscribe and people watch, you could be getting years into the future, maybe people will be reaching out to you.
so I ain't gonna let you off the hook that easy. I ain't gonna
Okay.
let you off the hook that easy. So you're gonna have to talk about yourself a little bit. You're gonna have to do it. So what's next for Mack Story? Now I know Blue Collar Leadership is it. I know the academy. I know y'all going up with a lot. I know y'all got to be busy because y'all got the academy, the YouTube videos, all of this stuff you're implementing now. More importantly is you're basically becoming where if the how I see this is how I see it. You're basically becoming where if a company want to use your material for teaching and development, they can purchase it and they'll have access to it. Just like if I go into our leadership development or class and the thing, I can elect these classes from different subjects. But I don't know who create all this content, but I can go in there and access it. And basically, your content will be on the same line as that. Granted, I prefer your content better, but this is where I see y'all going.
Yeah.
So
And
you tell me where y'all going.
yeah, that's what, we've had for years. People have asked us to do video training, and I just don't like to do it. I like to be in a room speaking to somebody. But just like you
Okay.
just said, and I had someone call me last week they work at an airport, they're operations manager at an airport, and their company's doing some kind of video training and stuff like that. And this guy was calling me and and you know, I ain't gonna say his name, but he's a good guy. He just didn't like whatever training they was getting. It sounded like there was white collar executives doing some kind of training on videos, I guess, or either maybe in person. I can't remember exactly, but they just didn't relate to the blue collar workers. And he's just being proactive. And he said, I just gotta, if we're gonna have to sit through this stuff, I'm trying to find something we actually want to sit through. And he said,
Yeah.
I started looking up blue collar development, blue collar leadership, and all training and that stuff. He said, I found your page and checked it out. Wanted to call and talk to you, and he's going to take it back and try. You know, he's trying to lead up and introduce them to us so that they can use us instead of whoever they're using now, because he just liked talking to me. He liked me and who I am and being authentic and having been there. So we've had a lot of people like that over the years, and we finally decided to do it. And Rhea plays the main role in all of this. She does all the technology stuff. I just show up and talk, kind of like today. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. It's just like my podcast. I record those things. I'd never listen to them. I record them.
Yeah.
I schedule them. I don't edit them. I don't clean them up. I don't do nothing. If I got to do all that, I probably ain't going to do all that. So then there wouldn't even be a podcast. And so Rhea's behind the scenes, but you know, we had a CEO of a large company, a electrical service company, nationally. They had people all over, and that CEO called us up and wanted us to do video training for his supervisors. And I was like, we won't do it unless we can come speak to them in the room first. He said, well, they're all over the country. I mean, he could put them in the room if he wanted to spend a lot of money, but it does cost a lot of money. And so I turned him down, and, you know, I said, you need to go find somebody else that ain't what I want to do in my business. But if he called today, now we got these 8-hour courses. Most of them are 7.5, 8 hours. It's basically 15 minutes per chapter in those 30 chapter books. So it ends up being a 7.5-hour course. So someone can actually subscribe to it. They can subscribe to one course for $1,000 a month, up to basically 2,000 people. So you could take 2,000 people through an 8-hour course in 1 month's time frame for $1,000. I mean, that's 50 cents a piece. How much? I mean, if you ain't willing to do that, who cares if you do it or not, right? Because I mean, it's if a leader won't invest 50 cents per person for them to go through an 8-hour training, and they get a certificate of completion, they get a 30-page workbook that they can download and sign. See, what I'm trying to do, Eric, is, and I appreciate you asking, but this really wasn't about me. But like you said, you put me on the spot, so I'm sharing about it. But what I'm trying to do, most blue collar leaders won't invest any money in developing their folks. So I'm trying to make it as cheap as possible, just like our book deal. Our special offer, we do, anybody buys 300 books, we pay all of our expense. That's $5,400 for them to get the 300 books. Plus we pay all of our expenses, and we travel anywhere in the 50 states, and we'll speak for up to 2 hours. So basically we're paying to go speak somewhere. So when I walk in the room, I can tell the people, the reason I'm in the room, because your leaders have proven to me that they're willing to invest in you. They bought you all these books. They put you in a room. They made time. And a lot of times they're feeding the folks and that kind of stuff. I said, they're doing all this. And I told your leaders, if they'll invest in you, we'll invest in you. And I always make the joke. I said, what that means for us is they had to pay the $5,400 and all the other extra money, paying your salary a lot of times to be here, and renting a room and paying for food and all that stuff. That's what your leaders have done for you. And what we had to do is I had to spend Rhea's money so we travel around here and speak to you. But the videos, there's another option. We got the all access option. We're going to eventually have 16 video courses on we've got 34 books. 16 of them are going to be turned into video courses. And basically that's unless we change it, it's subject to change, but at the moment it's just going to be $2,000 per month subscription. So anybody can subscribe to the $1,000 and get access to one course, or they can do $2,000 and get access to all the courses available, which right now is 4 courses. And they can stay subscribed for 1 month, or like you mentioned, Jason Denham, he subscribed and he plans on staying subscribed. And so he's got one guy already finished the 4 courses. I mean, he went through them in a hurry, and he's already went through the 4 courses, but he's also going to use those courses for the one on blue collar leadership, leading from the front lines, like you was talking about. He used to give the book out like you do. He's also going to use it as part of an orientation program. So anybody that comes into the company before they actually go to their job, no matter what level they're at. One of their orientation days, they're going to have to go through that 8-hour course on the Frontlines book. If they're a formal authority leader, then later they're going to have to go through the supervision course and then the teamwork course and maybe the culture course. He's going to have access to all of them all the time. So he's got about closing in on 200 people. I think it's 160 or 70 now. So he's got all those people to get through the course. He's doing all the book studies with them, but now they're going to have access to the course. Now they can go print off that certificate of completion, like the guy who did 4. Now, when he turns in his resume to get a promotion in the company, or if he decides to leave later, he's going to have that. But there's individuals who have enough resources. Somebody like, let's just say it, and I ain't by no means telling you to do this. I'm just saying there's people in companies, big companies, small companies, owners of companies who have the resources. Somebody could say as an individual, because see, we set this up for the company level, not just for the individual. That's why it's 1,000 or 2,000. We got free podcasts. We got free videos on the YouTube channel. We got all kinds of free stuff. The books only cost $18 a piece, but we tried to create a model so that a company could develop people, like the masses, everybody, through any of this content at such a low cost, and they can do it on their own schedule. They can do it at home. They can do it at work. There's all kind of flexibility, but it's super, super low cost. And so, I lost my thought where I was going with that.
No, that means you're highly engaged right now. You're highly engaged when you lose your train of thought.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff trying to dump, but that's what it's about. If a company like Jason's company, he annual, I helped him understand by annualizing that cost. If he pays $2,000 a month for a year, that's $24,000 for basically a turnkey online leadership development program that's eventually going to have up to 16 courses. Again, right now we're building them out right now, but it's still a ridiculous value if they ain't but 2 courses. But when you break it down, I think we used 200 people or 170 people. When you break it down and divide it up, it's only like 5-6 cents per hour per person. I mean,
yeah.
that's no kind of investment to develop the people. It's a win-win. Have it forward. That's what we're trying to do.
It's a win-win, and I see a lot of companies, blue collar in particular, developing, putting a lot of resources in developing the people as a whole. I guess, like you said, and like Bob Chapman have said, we in an era now where people realizing the most valuable thing we have is our people. So they're trying to develop them. They trying to. Don't know. And you have so much information out there, you don't know what's good and what's not. So, and what's going to work and what's not. And I think people, I don't know how they're going about it in terms of the HR piece. In terms of the HR piece, the HR piece have a lot of influence on who's buying what.
Yep.
In terms of who's buying what, and I think we in an era where we see a lot of people trying to develop the people.
Yeah, it's accelerating. So all of that I said was to get back to this point. I think to answer your original question too is like these companies and like your company. A lot of companies are doing this stuff, and nothing against that stuff, but some people really like our stuff. They don't like the other stuff. But regardless of that, whether they like it or don't like it, companies are using video training. So Rhea and I decided finally we don't like meeting somebody through video training. Initially, we like to build a relationship and connect with somebody, and then they can do all the video training with us they want. But there's a lot of companies who ain't going to bring anybody in. So if we want to introduce them to who we are and our stuff, we got to create video online courses for video training. And instead of doing it per person, like a lot of people do it per person to try to make a whole lot of money, right? That's kind of the scarcity mindset. So Rhea had to work really hard to figure out how to do it as a group so that a group could set it. So we're going to set it initially like a 2,000 person max, because we don't know if somebody, most places like say a Walmart distribution center.
Yep.
They don't want it for the whole company most time. If you ran a big distribution center, you want to be able to be the group leader of your program, because in that course you also can, everybody who signs up and registers, let's say you're the group leader, you can go in there and look at the dashboard. So you'll have access to that. Like Jason, he can go in and look at his dashboard anytime he wants. He can see every person who's enrolled. He can see what percent complete are they in every course. He can see, have they completed courses? And so he got access to that all the time. So a big company, they wouldn't want everybody looking in one big pile because they couldn't really, it wouldn't mean nothing to them. So we're probably it'll end up being, unless there's one company with a few thousand people spread across the country, most places are going to probably individually enrolled as a site. So the site leader can just track their people, and then another company, even if it's in the same company, they can log on and subscribe and have their own group leader and have their own dashboard and that sort of stuff. But we're just trying to do it with abundance. We're learning, we're figuring it out as we go. But I think letting 2,000 people have access, 2,000 people for $2,000. I mean, how much cheaper can you get? And then, if it's like right now, there's 4 courses. So it ain't just, you get 2,000 people to subscribe and they only stay subscribed for 1 month. That's $1 per person. But if there's 4 courses available and they go through all 4 courses, it's only 25 cents a course. I don't know what else to do to make it. But we don't do sales. So we ain't running around telling everybody about this. We just let it organically, grassroots grow. You see me on a video or a podcast, I talk about it on my social media. I might share about it, but I ain't putting it on billboards. We ain't mailing out stuff. I ain't cold calling people. I don't do all that stuff. It's just going to happen. I'm going to let God go. We're going to do the work and let God figure out what we're going to let him do the marketing for us. Whatever happened, going to happen.
Oh, absolutely. So I always like to know what's next. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that.
Yep, that's it. It's going to keep us busy, like you said. Like, we got to record 30 videos, Rhea edits 30 videos, then we got to upload 30 videos. She's got to set it up, in the background on the Blue Collar Leadership Academy. She got lots and lots of work to do. And now we're doing these interviews and now kind of got a backlog. We got 6 or 7 interviews right now that we got to conduct over the next few weeks. And we just work on it when we're home and have time to do it. We're busy, whether we're at home or whether we're on the road. We ain't never just hanging out, goofing around. So this is a big project, probably a couple of year project. And then YouTube channel. That's really, the newest big thing is this Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. It's in case you didn't know, if you hadn't been on there too, Eric, I got playlists on there. All my audio podcasts upload to my YouTube channel. Rhea set that up, so they're on there as an audio. But I got a playlist by the book, so somebody can go find a playlist of the audios for the book. They can find the Leader versus Manager. There's a playlist with those. I think the 5 or 6 videos where I tell my story at the beginning, there's a playlist for that. So, it's hard to find all that stuff on the podcast itself because it's just one big long list of 370 something. But there's a big long list on the YouTube channel too, 370 something. But I got the playlist that pull out the 30 for this book and the 30 for that book. And like I got one for interviews. So there's a Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. There's podcast interviews. So any of the audio interviews I've done, or like these in the future, they'll also be under that playlist. But these videos are going to be under a video interview playlist. So people can hopefully use the YouTube channel to go and find a lot of the content. All this free stuff, tons of free stuff. You adding tremendous value. Everybody who I interview is going to add tremendous value. And who knows, these interviews like this, because I meet people all the time that get gung-ho about my content, but I ain't been able to do this with them because we hadn't been, hadn't been doing it. So it's part of our growth. It could become pretty popular to be able to go see blue collar people at all different levels in all kinds of industries talking like you've been sharing today. I think this, and we got the brand already. We just another piece of it.
I got you. Yeah. Well, continue the good work, and I appreciate you for everything y'all have done for me, you and Rhea both, and everything that y'all have done indirectly for my family. I really appreciate that.
And thank you. I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, out spreading the message, being the leader that you are. That's the most important thing, modeling it. And you're going to change lives. Some of them you're going to know about. They're going to share with you. Some people, you may not ever know they didn't take their life. I mean, you don't ever know. Somebody could be thinking about suicide, and because of you and your leadership, they don't. But they may not tell you that, but that kind of stuff happens. People who may have gotten divorced may not get divorced, and they may not even realize it was because you read these books that you've been reading, and you started developing them, and they got better. You know, it's preventing stuff that may not ever happen. I mean, that could have happened from happening, but they never know it would happen. Just like Rhea and I mean, we'll be celebrating 23 years, but if we hadn't both grown the way we have, we may not have made it to 23 years. I don't know. I got a track record where I wasn't doing too good before I met Rhea, but Rhea is phenomenal. But she's helped me grow. I've helped her grow. We helping others. So we all on the same team, Eric. We all on the same team and trying to accomplish the same thing. And we the kind of people that's got to change this world, make it better. If we don't, ain't nobody else going to do it. We got to do it. And those like us.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
All right. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. We had a good long hour and 45 minutes. That's outstanding. And we'll chop this thing up into a lot of small videos to promote it. And you can use those and promote it. It'll be coming out in a couple of weeks. But I'm going to wrap it up here. So hope everybody enjoyed meeting my friend Eric Armour. Go check him out on LinkedIn. Send him an email if you think he can help you. So that's it for today. Talk to you next time.